Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversation with Calvin, We the Species. Chronologically, hey, it's Friday, March 7th. Uh, um, I don't know when the Ides of March are, but they got to be coming up. It's almost spring, going to be almost 70 degrees here in New Jersey next week. This is great. And I am talking to an old friend, Alan Hesse, who's right now in Ecuador. Are you close to Quito? Am I right? Quito? You're close?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Kilo, yeah, yeah.
Alan and I, we met 3 or 4 years ago through the majesty of social media. Whether maybe it was LinkedIn and instant chemistry. Alan is the consummate environmentalist, and he's taken it to such a high level because he does a series of books, graphic novels on. He created this amazing character who I love dearly, Captain Polo, and that's why we're here. We're going to talk about Captain Polo and all his adventures. Captain Polo, Captain Polo and the Yeti. And there was also that Alan did about Charles Darwin. And I read all these, and I got all these from Amazon. And I read this, and I just told Alan before he went on air that it was so interesting because when I finished reading this, I knew stuff about Charles Darwin I never knew before, and it was from this. So Al and I then went on to co-found an organization called Climate Optimists, and in parentheses, everything not fine. And we had people literally all over the world. Alan knows people all over the
Yeah.
world with the work he does. We'll talk about it. And we had some great panels. We had some great meetings, and we did stuff for a couple of years. But as with everything in time, things come and things go. But Al and I are still here, and we're now going to talk about a bunch of different things. Today, we're going to concentrate on the adventures of Captain Polo, Polo in Brazil. This is the latest. Actually, came out a few days ago, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Came out a few days ago.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of this. And I'm so thrilled, Alan, because you and I have been together 3 or 4 years, and it's very special. You're very special in the work you do, and this gives us a chance to talk about it. So before we plunge in, and by the way, everybody, this is a short little session. Alan and I could go for an hour and a half easy. We're not. This is short and to the point. I'm done. I needed to say these things. Alan, why don't you do a little bit of a bio background, and then we're going to jump into the adventures of Captain Polo in Brazil.
Yeah, thanks so much, Calvin. It's such a pleasure as always. Yeah, I'm based in Quito. I'm a conservation biologist professionally with over 30 years of experience on conservation, from communities to wildlife monitoring, many, many years field work. So all of this in Latin America, and parallel always been developing educational resources using cartoons. I have an ability to draw cartoons, and I turned that into something more focused and useful through comic books and graphic novels. And as Calvin has mentioned, the main focus of that work today and for the foreseeable future is about climate change, with Captain Polo, the character who's really taken off, even beyond the printed page. And so, yeah, looking forward to this session and the following ones, Calvin. Thanks again.
Good. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, your new book, The Adventures of Captain Polo in Brazil, is your latest in a series of educational comics and about climate change. Um,
Yeah.
so my first question, and I just did this quickly because it just came out a couple of days ago. Why did you choose Brazil as a setting for this adventure with Captain Polo? And this is really important. What Because Brazil is always in the news with climate change. What key environmental and social issues does it explore?
Yeah. Well, okay. So why Brazil? It's a good question. There's two reasons. The first reason is practicality. It's a book that continues from the predecessor. which is called Pole to Pole, book 4 in the series. And Pole to Pole ends on an open ending when our main character, Captain Polo, with his sidekick Penguin, are stranded in the middle of the Atlantic, in about middle Atlantic area around near the equator. That's where they end, their adventure in that book. And on purpose, it was left open because it's part of a journey from the Arctic to the Antarctic. And so the book number 5, which is Polo in Brazil, logically continues that story. So there's a practical reason. Originally, Calvin, I was going to just have them pop into Brazil quickly and then follow on to Argentina and end up in the Antarctic. But, as I started doing my research, because all of these books involve many months of research, I realized that there's so much about Brazil that needs to be told. And so much of it is relevant to, the climate crisis we live today and an environmental crisis that we're living together all together, even though we're on other sides of the planet, we're all affected. But there are also wonderful examples of innovation and technology and solutions and creativity in Brazil. So I really wanted to explore the country. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make it all about Brazil. So that was like the main reason. And then, of course, you talk about Brazil, you immediately think of the Amazon, right? A large proportion of Brazil is Amazon, the Amazon rainforest, and we all know the news. We all know how fragile the Amazon is. So obviously, it's a biome that's high on the list of the general public's knowledge. But there are also other threatened forest systems in Brazil and other ecosystems that people don't talk about outside conservation circles or technical circles. And I thought, what a great opportunity to also talk about them. So there's one more reason to go into Brazil in depth. Deforestation, again, it's a topic we all hear about on the news. Everyone is vaguely aware of it. If you live in areas of the world which are not tropical, you don't really see it that much, except on the news or, but in the tropics, deforestation is a major driver of biodiversity loss. But it's also a major driver of global warming, and nowhere more so than the Amazon. So there again, there's an opportunity there to go into that from a perspective of deforestation, explaining what are the drivers of deforestation, like why is it happening? It's not just because trees are getting cut down, but they're getting cut down for a reason. And what are those reasons? And so that opens all kinds of cans of worms, and it's all interesting and important to know about. And then there are lesser known pressures as well in that area, which is criminality around logging, around land seizure, human rights abuse, mining, drilling, gold mining, notoriously contaminating land, soil, and people's minds and hearts as well. Indigenous peoples being displaced, being abused. All of that stuff has to be told. It's all part of climate change. It's all part of the same subject. And then, back to cattle again. Deforestation is mainly done in Brazil to open land up for cattle ranching. And then so the book also affords an opportunity to have take a closer look at cattle ranching. And why do I choose cattle ranching? Because I want to promote critical thinking in the readers, right? It turns out that cattle ranching can be done differently. It can be done in sustainable ways that are actually climate solutions, believe it or not, Calvin. It can be a climate solution if it's done a different way. And not many people know about that. And it's a subject of a lot of confusion. And again, I'm talking to the general public here, right? So I want to instill critical thinking in my readers, because when you look at the news, you have no defense against the fake news, against disinformation. There's a lot of contradictory messages coming out from everywhere. And the best defense against that is to understand the root scientific facts in a way that is easy to assimilate and also fun. And that's what Captain Polo Brazil is all about. If I had to sum it up in a word, it's all about critical thinking. So it's like taking things to a new level, trying to get down really into the weeds of things.
Those are
Long,
great two
long answer.
words. Yes. Critical thinking, what powerful, powerful words. We just need to do more of that here
Yeah.
on the planet. Critical thinking. Wow. Yeah, in my reading, I really fell in love with Captain Polo. I've read the three of those things, and soon I'll get this. And uh, uh, um, off topic, you use um, how do you use humor? I mean, a little bit off topic, but how do you use humor in your
Yeah.
book? Because he's so delightful, Captain Polo.
Yeah. 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 Well, Captain, I have to say, Calvin, people ask me often what inspired the character. And people of a certain age, like you and me, may know of the characters I'm going to mention. The younger people who might read my books may not have heard of them. But Captain Polo is inspired by Tintin, by Paddington Bear, which most people have not heard of because there's a movie, and also a lesser known character from the Asterix comics that were very popular in Europe when I was growing up, and still today, the Asterix and Obelix comics. And there's a character called Obelix. Anyone who knows Obelix will know what I mean. And Captain Polo is a mix of those three characters.
Okay.
He has Tintin's sense of adventure and intelligence and travel bug, he has Paddington's innocence, but also his strong character, because Paddington doesn't take no for an answer. And Obelix is a big physical guy who doesn't like something, he just smashes the person in question into the ground and move on. So Polo is a polar bear. So
Okay.
I have to bring in the animality of it as well. But humor, you asked me about humor. Yeah, it's slapstick humor, it's visual humor. Um, I bring it in to lighten up the mood a bit, because sometimes these subjects that I've just described are really heavy.
Yeah.
They're not only heavy, like depressing, but they're also heavy technically. I do, as you know, focus the books always on solutions. So the books are all positive, but the solutions are also highly technical sometimes. And so you have to mix it up. You have to mix it up with storytelling, and I bring in humor and adventure. Right, the genre that I work with doesn't give itself to drama or mystery or anything like that, like darker kinds of fiction. It's more positive, lighter kind of fiction. So humor and adventure. A lot of it is slapstick, crazy humor. Sometimes even I don't understand what it means. But in the words of the great Gary Larson, cartoonist, it doesn't matter if you don't understand. If it feels good, just
Okay.
if it makes sense. So that's how I bring humor in to lighten things up.
I like that. Um, why do you think polo in Brazil is important for like young readers today? Because this is for young readers, although everybody can
Yeah.
read it. And how do you think it can help them? How do you think it can help them understand the real world challenges we're facing?
Yeah. Well, young readers are the ones going to grow up into a world that looks very different to when we were kids. So I want young readers to understand the truth. I don't want to sugarcoat the facts. And the issues I described at the beginning of this conversation are hard truths. So I want young readers to understand what is what. And so Brazil provides a really great case study for me to go in depth into the environmental and climate issues, but also solutions, right, that are led by people, community-driven solutions. It provides a great case study of a country that has immense wealth, immense natural wealth, also immense industrial power. It's an emerging economy, huge population, extremely diverse population, hundreds of different groups, ethnic nationalities and mixtures and languages. Culture is extremely rich. So it's a great melting pot. And I want the young readers to understand the diversity and how to treasure that diversity. It's all about diversity. It's all about inclusion in that sense. It's also a great case study to see what happens when there's a policy change. Because at the end of the day, you can do a lot of grassroots actions, but you need that backbone of policy to translate all that effort into actual action on the ground. The policy is necessary to give a framework for individual actions. And so Brazil has done that. It's during the course of writing the book, the government changed from Bolsonaro's government, which was completely against anything environmental, to the newer government, which is absolutely the opposite. And so that policy change creates a great opportunity to see the role of government and how that, So young readers need to understand it all, the whole picture. That's what I mean, right? They need to understand what's going on in the Amazon with the indigenous people, but they also need to understand what's going on in the offices of the presidency to understand how everything is connected. And it's the solution side is really important, in all the books. Youngsters, they need to know that there are solutions, and they need to know that they can be part of that solution. That's the bottom line. So the book goes into nature-based solution, community-based solutions, and also there's government policy, as I mentioned. So the idea is to bring them the whole picture, the big picture. And this is what climate change looks like on the ground. This is all the works. This is all the mechanics. We've talked about greenhouse gases. We've talked about fossil fuels. This is what it's actually looking like in a case study kind of scenario.
That's great.
Yeah.
So needed. So needed. I've been an environmentalist since April 22nd, 1970. I've been
Yes, you have.
aware for a long, long, long time. What you're doing is so needed because somebody has to shake these young people and get them started on the right foot because not enough has been done. Not enough is done, and not enough was done.
Right.
We got a lot of work to do. So
Yeah, we do.
we sure do. We talk about that for 4 years.
Yes, yeah.
Lastly, where can listeners get their own copy of Captain Polo in Brazil? And important, how can they support your work in making climate education fun and accessible? That's a great word, accessible.
It really is a great word. Yeah, well, like the other books, they can, all the books are available on any online bookstore, including Amazon and any other. You don't have to, Barnes and Noble, Waterstones, just you name it. I think even Walmart, wherever they sell books, but only online. That's just the way it works.
Okay.
But one thing, Calvin, when people are looking for the books, they have to type in my name in the search bar. The full names are Alan J. Hesse. The J is super important because that's the author name.
Okay.
There's another guy called Alan Hesse. This is a funny story. There's another guy called Alan Hesse who's a preacher in Texas. So that's not me.
No, not you.
I would love to meet him one day, but he's not the one who's writing these books. So he's Alan J. Hesse. Any online bookstore. And on my website too, if you buy directly from my website, it's better for me. Okay. And that great segue into the next question: how can you support all this? Basically, buy the books, buy more than one so that you can gift one is a good idea. They also exist as ebooks. So those, if you don't want to spend for a paperback, you can get the ebook. It's a lot cheaper. It's like $5 or something. Tell others about the Captain Polo Academy, which is my website, which is the platform where all of this happens. Not only the books, but also the projects in different parts of the world for climate literacy. And on the website, people can join my subscriber list. That builds my following. That's always, for an author, that's really important to have a following. And of course, following on social media and such, and even getting in touch, even an email. People can write to me from my website using the form, say, hey, Alan, how's it going? I'd love to have a chat. I'm doing this project. I love to hear from from readers, from listeners, uh, just getting in touch. It's all about synergy. It's like you and me, Calvin. We for years now, we've been creating these waves with others just by meeting up and organizing online meetings and fireside chats. Remember the fireside chats that we started out with?
Great.
So that's how you can help make a difference. Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. A lot of work to do. We know that there's a lot of work to do. All right. So we've concluded our short, and like I said, we can go for 90 minutes easy and
Easy.
not get anything done. Easy. That's our
Easy.
history, but we've shortened this up. So here's a teaser for our next episode in the next couple of weeks. We've just scratched the surface of why Brazil is so important in global climate. You gave some really interesting thoughts. I mean, I haven't even thought about some of the stuff, even the cattle stuff.
Yeah.
So next time, let's talk about the Amazon's role
Okay.
in stabilizing our planet. And what's at stake? And this, I'm always afraid to talk about this. What's at stake if we lose it, and we're losing it? So
Yeah.
that's our next topic.
Okay.
That's
That's a
heavy
heavy
duty stuff.
topic. That's a heavy topic.
That's
But
heavy duty. That is heavy duty stuff.
but we'll keep it light. We'll keep it light.
Yeah, we'll keep it. Well, we always keep it light.
We'll bring Captain Polo in to help us.
Yep. I'd love to meet him. You know, maybe
Well, yeah.
someday.
I'll
Someday.
see what I can arrange. He's a
Okay.
busy bear. He's a busy bear.
He's a
He
busy
is
bear, but one of these
VIP.
days.
He started out in book one as a lost bear with no name, out on a melting iceberg in the middle of the ocean,
Do
as
I
you
have that?
recall. The first book, and like any character, he undergoes a
Is that the
transformation.
first one?
It's the first one. Yeah, there he
Okay.
is. There he
Okay.
is. And yeah, and at the end of the third book, he is a VIP. He meets ex-President Obama. He's
Wow.
on personal front first name terms with Leonardo DiCaprio and Ed Norton and other celebrities who have been involved in activism for climate and nature. And yeah, they roll out the red carpet for Polo these days.
Great.
So he's a busy bear.
Busy bear. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan, as always.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
thank you,
Calvin.
thank you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm going to
All right.
stop recording. Don't leave. We're going to do a 2-minute wrap. Uh, hey, thank you as always. This has been great. All of this, knowing you.
Thank you.